Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. When I was your age, we didn't have the internet in our pockets. In fact, we did not have the internet in our pockets. We didn't even have the internet. So that's how out of touch I am. But in the immortal words of Bob Dylan, the times are changing and you got to get with them. So it was an honor to be able to address everyone. If you remember at the beginning of the year, I gave our opening sort of convocation talk to kind of get us started. So I'm honored to be here back with you at the end of the year, kind of a bookend, to give you some words and to share with you. I guess I should use this, although you probably could have heard me just fine otherwise. But this is our last chapel message, our formal chapel message. I think we have a senior chapel next week. But so I was reflecting, thinking about what I would want to share with you at the sort of last chapel of the year. And I decided that I would talk to you about the meaning of life. So basically, I should have you out of here in under 2 hours. I'm joking. At least one person got that. So my topic is the meaning of life, and I want to discuss it under 3 broad headings. First, I want to talk about the question of the meaning of life. Then I want to talk about the quest for the meaning of life. And then I want to talk about the call for the meaning of life. So first, let's talk about the question. Your life is undoubtedly the most precious resource that you possess. And the question of how you are going to spend your life is the most important question that you personally can possibly ask. The question is unique, and it takes many different forms. It's been asked by many different people in many different ways, on down through the ages. Things like this: what is life for? What is the good life? What is the best way to live my life? What are the things that are most important in life? What things should I care about above everything else? What is the highest value, and what are the things that are most important in life? What is the central meaning and purpose of my life? Does my life matter? Do I matter? Does my life have any significance? So these are different ways of asking the question. The question about, what is the meaning of it all? And particularly, what is my meaning, right? What is meaning of my life? So, I want to hone in on this again, on the question. It's intensely personal. Notice I'm talking about me, right? I'm saying, what is my purpose, right? What is the meaning of my life, right? So it's a highly personal, intensely personal question, and how you answer that question depends upon 1,000 factors that distinguish you from everyone else. Basically, all of your interests, your individual tastes, your talents, the upbringing that you've had, the values that you have, your life circumstances, all of that factors into how you answer that question. So, but it's also personal in a much deeper sense. It is a question that only you can answer. You can learn from others about what they find to be the meaning of life, their lives, right? You can certainly take advice from sages and philosophers and religious thinkers about the meaning of life, but at the end of the day, however enlightening or inspiring you find what others say, the answer that you give has validity for you because it is your answer. There are many things that you can learn the truth about in school without taking a lot of personal interest in them. So think, for example, the presidents of the United States. Sorry, Mr. Wallace, but there may be kids in the room that have no personal interest in that question. They can learn the information, right? But it's not personal to them. What about the periodic table of elements? Sorry, Mrs. Logan. Same for you. How about how to argue with an atheist and win? Where's Mr. Baby, right? You can teach them that all day long until you're blue in the face. At the end of the day, they may or may not have a personal connection with that. Mr. Ames teaches about the 5 canons of rhetoric. Or Mrs. Susini teaches how to say, "Where is the bathroom?" in French, right? Mr. Halkier teaches people how to write sonnets. All of this is good and important information, but it isn't personal. It's external to you. But the question of the meaning of your life is intensely personal. So you get the point. You can learn all of these things and have absolutely zero interest in them. But the question of how to spend your life or of what your life is for is a question that is uniquely posed to you. You must face it alone, and the answer that you give it can only be your own. You can't delegate your inevitable responsibility for answering this fundamental question. You can't delegate that no more than you could delegate your own death. So, the question of the meaning of your life is exquisitely personal, but it's also exceedingly eccentric. It's not a question that just arises with regularity throughout the day, like you find yourself just immediately thinking about the meaning of your life. So, you can go through whole periods of your life, like whole epochs, decades, and not even think about it. And one of the reasons that it's so eccentric is that it seems absurdly disconnected from the multitude of questions that you have to answer every day just to survive. Think about it. What side should I part my hair on? That's an important question if you're a middle school kid or a high school kid or a 50-year-old trying to, cover up a bald spot, right? Do I dare eat a peach? I don't, but some of you might. But that's a good question. Should I eat a peach? Should I take an umbrella to school? Is it Friday yet? Can I have an extension on my procrastination, please? Can I go to the bathroom? Or do I need a hall pass, a passport, or a notarized letter from my parents just to go to the bathroom? You get the point. If we're honest, these are the kinds of questions, everyday, run-of-the-mill, get through life, get through the day kinds of questions that take up the vast majority of our time and our thought. But every now and then, sometimes in life, we face questions of a much larger sort. It's things like this. What college should I attend? Right? Seniors, you've been thinking about that. Right? Josh, you're thinking about it. I know I see your mom posts on Facebook all the colleges you're visiting. You're thinking about it. That's a big question. Right? Who should I marry? Wow, that's probably one of the biggest questions because you're going to be spending your life with another individual, right? So that's a big question. What about your career? What career path should I choose? Sometimes, though rarely, these are the kinds of larger life issues and larger life questions that come up. And sometimes, though rarely, these larger questions spiral up to an even higher level of concern. So, how important is my job relative to my family? What's more important, my job or my family? And where do I prioritize my time? Right? That's a big life question that I'm talking about. Am I loved by my children, and am I worthy of their love? And then, most eccentric of all, once in a very long while, we ask ourselves the ultimate question to which all of these other questions are leading. And that's the one that determines how we answer all of these other smaller questions. So how we answer that big question determines sort of our perspective on all those other smaller questions. And this is the question of what living is for, or whether and why our lives have a meaning that makes them worth living at all. And so we move naturally from the question, right? So I talked about it being personal and eccentric, right? But we move naturally now from the question to the quest to answer the question. Ironically, we live in a time when schools and colleges have almost completely and utterly given up on asking and trying to answer that question about the meaning of life. Yet it's the most important question. The focused and disciplined study of this question used to be the whole point of a true education. That's why we went to school, was to study those fundamental questions, those big ideas, to get a firm grip on the highest values. And teachers used to have authority to provide guidance and wisdom about how to answer those questions. So the question, but today, is mostly ridiculed and mocked as a question without meaning or significance. It's a question without an answer. That's typically what you're going to find in academia today. They've abandoned the quest. But the quest is universal. Ignoring the disciplined, scholarly, and earnest inquiry into the meaning of life has not actually stopped students from searching for something to build their life upon. It's only served to ensure that they have no guidance in the quest for their answer. Our world, though, is a veritable supermarket of confused people looking for identity, looking for purpose, and looking for fulfillment in every conceivable place. Everyone is on a quest for meaning and significance, and everyone is looking to build their life around something that they think will give them value, purpose, and meaning. The quest for the meaning of life is universal, but without proper guidance, where do you think it leads? It leads to idolatry and disaster. When people build their lives around counterfeit promises of wealth or sex or power, when these things become the highest values that they live and organize their lives around. Some people build their lives on beauty or body image, and you know these people. They're seeking to find their meaning and their significance in their looks. Other people seek to build their life around their sexual orientation or their preferred gender identity, and this becomes how they organize everything in their lives. It's their highest value. Other people seek meaning for their life in a career, thinking that a promotion or a certain level of income and wealth will give them the significance that they crave. And others still seek identity and meaning in a relationship. If I can just find the right spouse, if I can just have the right girlfriend or boyfriend, if I can just be affirmed or have this relationship, my life will be complete. I will build my identity around that relationship. And still others look to the promise of power and political activism to find satisfaction and meaning in their lives. So all of these things, and there's many more, these are the idols, okay, of the heart. These are the counterfeit gods of our culture, and they're vying for your allegiance, and they're vying for the allegiance of your heart. And you need to know that. You see, the human heart is, by nature, an idol-making factory. We're constantly manufacturing idols because in our nature we are in rebellion against God, right? And that's an issue, right? So we try to find God, we try to be our own God, or find gods in, worship other idols, these other things. So here's what we do. We take good things that are in the world, all those things are good, relationships, power, wealth, none of those are bad things, right? But we take these good things, and then basically what we do is we try to make them ultimate things, right? So they're good things, they're created things, and what we try to do is make them gods, ultimate. So our hearts deify them as the center of our lives because we think that they can give us the security and the significance and the fulfillment that our hearts crave. But these things weren't built for this. That's not what they are. They're great in their place, but they make terrible gods. They ruin lives. When these good things turn ultimate things inevitably come crashing down, when they are lost or stolen or withered with age, what do you think happens to your identity if you built your life around those passing away things? Basically, your life is ruined and you're left in total despair. And that's an important point. Despair is a dangerous place to be. It is inconsolable because it comes from losing something that you thought was ultimate or of highest value and importance. Now, when you lose the ultimate source of your meaning and hope, there are basically no alternatives to turn to. Your spirit is broken. Despair is the inevitable result when you take one of these incomplete joys, these smaller goods, and you try to build your life on it. The only way forward, the only way out of despair is to resist the call, if you will, of these counterfeit gods. They're calling you, and you have to resist their temptations, like the sirens in Homer's Odyssey. How many of you have read Homer's Odyssey? Please raise your hand. Only a few? Most of you? Okay. Right, so the sirens, right? He has to stop his ears. You can't listen to the call because it's very tempting. So that's what these are. They're siren songs. They're calling to your heart. And this brings me to my final point, which is the call of the meaning of life. So answering the call of your Creator is the ultimate why for living. It is the highest source of purpose in all of human existence. Apart from the call of your Creator, all hope of discovering your meaning and purpose in life will basically end in disappointment or the ash bin of history. Nothing except the call of God on your life can ground and fulfill you or the innate desire that you have for purpose and meaning in your life. There's a great quote from St. Augustine, one of my favorite scholars. He says in his great work, The Confessions, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and restless is our heart until it rests in you." So what do I mean by the call, right? I said these other false counterfeit gods, they're calling, right? But your Creator has a call as well. So let's talk about basically what that is. There's an author and social critic, his name is Os Guinness. He actually wrote a whole book on this called The Call, and he defines calling as the idea that there is a personal, infinite Creator God behind everything, and He's created each and every one of you uniquely. He created you, and He's calling you. So as you rise to His call, you will discover your unique and glorious destiny, which is basically to live freely and to know and honor God. You see, your Creator knows not just who He has created you to be, but also who He's calling you to be. He has things in mind for each one of you that no one could ever imagine or see the possibility and potential in you. So I want you all to hear me very, very clearly this morning. Because what I'm about to tell you, I think, is one of the most important things that you can hear, or one of the most important things I could possibly say to you. So, God, think about Him for a second. Think about His majesty. Think about His knowledge. Think about His power. Why does He care about you? Right, the psalmist says, God, you're so big, you're so great, you're so good. Why do you even care about me? Right? Yet you created me. So the answer basically is that He loves you, He created you, and He wants the best for you. And answering His call will give you the most incredible and the most unique view of your individual purpose and meaning in life as you follow Christ. So hear me loud and clear. God is calling you right here, right now. He's basically asking you to follow His Son, Jesus. He is calling you to become a disciple of Jesus. He's calling you to commit your life to Jesus. He's calling you to live your life for Jesus. And as you sit here today, He is calling you to follow Him. And what does this mean? How should you respond? So I'm going to give you some advice. This means basically, God's calling me. I'm going to take everything that I have, that He's given me, everything that He's endowed me with, all my gifts, all my faults, all my failings, but all my passions, all my unique, everything, my whole self. And I'm going to respond by giving myself, my being, my person, to His service for His glory. So, God's calling on your life isn't about going somewhere or doing something. He might be calling you to go to Africa, right? Or to do something specific. But mostly, His calling on you is very general. It's very specific, but it's also very general. He's calling you to give your allegiance to Him. So you're being called to follow Jesus, and He beckons you to take everything you have and all that you are and simply follow Him. Live for Him, work for Him, love for Him, serve Him. Now, one of you might be a famous lounge singer someday. I don't know. You might end up as a circus conductor. Or maybe Kennedy's probably going to be the first female president of the United States, right? I don't know. Somebody may be a famous tattoo artist. All of you could be anything, and you know what? It doesn't really matter. None of that really matters. These are all what I'll call secondary callings. In fact, they aren't even callings at all, and they aren't the most important things in life, and they don't define your ultimate significance and meaning. They are not what you are to live for, and they are not meant to carry the weight of your eternal happiness. Jesus says, follow me, live for me. Whatever you do in word or deed, do it for my glory and in my name. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all the other stuff, your careers and your relationships and all that, he's going to add to you, right? So get your priorities straight is the message. Now, when you answer this call of Jesus on your life, you'll answer it as a lawyer or a high school teacher or a doctor or a banker or a construction worker or whatever, right? Those secondary callings. But as followers of Jesus, we all have a common and a collective call. He calls all of us to be holy. He calls us to be peacemakers and poor in spirit. And this is common to all of Christians and is shared by every follower of Jesus. But Jesus also calls us all individually, so we have a unique call on our lives. So just to follow Jesus as the person that you are is an incredible calling. If God wants to specially take you somewhere in a dramatic way, that's his business, and I suspect he probably will for some of you. But each of us has the full-time task of taking our whole selves with all the gifts that God has given him and following Jesus in the way that he's taught us in the Gospels. So, what can you expect in life when you answer the call of your Creator? Well, when you accept the call of Jesus to follow him, to become his disciple, there are three themes that I'm going to say that are going to emerge in your life. First, following Jesus means doing what you are. In our modern world, you are what you do. Think about it. If somebody asks you, tell me about yourself, you immediately start telling them about your job, right? Here's, what I do. But as you grow up, there's always also a moment when the door opens and the future beckons. And when you're doing that, you're happy and you can't imagine doing anything else. That's who you are. That's the thing that makes you unique. It's doing the things that you are, right? And so that's what living a Christian life, following the call of Jesus is like. The first point is that you act out of who you are. You become an authentic person, basically. I think this is part of the meaning of the parable of the talents. We all have all these natural gifts, and calling means doing what we are by taking who God has made us to be and serving him with making an offering of our lives and back to him. The second master theme is following Jesus basically means everyone, everywhere, and everything. So most of you, you've probably heard of, raise your hand if you've heard of William Wilberforce. Have anybody studied William Wilberforce? Okay, some of you have, most of you have. Interesting. You'll learn something today. William Wilberforce was an 18th century English politician, and he was also a philanthropist and a philanderer. He was the leader of the movement, though, to abolish slavery in England. But before this, he was a carefree, wealthy, privileged gambler, and he came to Christ dramatically at the age of 26. Now, when he came to Christ, he thought, shoot, now I have to leave politics and give up my whole, career that I've been building and go and serve and become a minister or something like that. But John Newton, the great British sailor and slaver, who also had turned Christian and became an English clergyman, he said to William Wilberforce, for heaven's sake, don't give up politics. Stay where you are and ask God what he wants you to do. So for 2 years, Wilberforce prayed for God's call to become clear on his life. And at the end of this period, he made the most famous personal mission statement that's ever been written. He said this: the Lord has set before me two great objects, the suppression of the slave trade and the reformation of manners and morals. Well, which was harder? How does one man accomplish this? He nearly missed his call to be the greatest social reformer in all of history, and he would have missed that if he had gone and tried to become a minister, right? So Jesus doesn't have part-time disciples. Wilberforce was still a disciple, but he was everywhere, everyone, all the time, serving the Lord in his unique way, as God created him to be. So in following the call of Jesus, you have to think through every part of your world, every sphere of your life, your home, your church, your work, your job, and you want to see that you're doing it to the glory of God, serving God in your capacities, in your secondary callings. So my last theme is answering the call of Jesus means living before the audience of one. We live in an other-directed world, and by nature, teenagers are the most keenly aware of what others are thinking. You know this, what people are wearing, look at what they're listening to, look at what they look like, right? We're noticing others, right, a lot. Modern Americans are no different. They're incredibly other-directed. 51% of the people are believing this. Rich and famous and celebrities are now wearing that. You know, so there's an audience, right? That's what I'm getting at. And we're living for an audience. Did what I say just come across to that person? You know, what do I do here to not be socially awkward, right? We're always thinking about how we are in relation to others. Well, that's our audience. We all have them. The question is, which audience trumps all others for you? So only one sentence should say that you are successful in life. Your meaning, your significance, your purpose does not depend in any way on what others think about you, except for one. And the only thing that matters to your life is when he says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." So, this is the most important word ever spoken, and it's changed the course of history, and it will change your life forever. This is the only truth that can enter your life, shape your life, and inspire you as a great master theme wherever you live, wherever you are, whatever age you are, whatever season and stage of life you're at. Your audience is one. So answering the call of Jesus is the secret to finding and fulfilling the core purpose and meaning of your life. And my question to you as we close this chapel is, have you answered it? Choose you this day whom you will serve. And with that, I bid you adieu.